there's a unique feeling of anxiety between signing your term sheet and receiving those funds. On one hand, there's this feeling of dread and fear that something may come up during the diligence process. On the other hand, there's this elation, sense of elation. Look at you, you made it. It's something that I've experienced personally. It's something that many of you have experienced personally. And then reality slaps you in the face. You need to get a bank account. We ran into this ourselves here at Latitude, and we're not first-time founders. We reached out to a couple of banks that we'd worked with in the past. Some of them said, no, can't support the Cayman sandwich. Others came to us and said, okay, we'll get you an account, but you're going to be paying us a couple $100 in maintenance fees a month. Then we talked to another bank, and they told us, you need at least $2 million in the bank before we can even open an account for you. And then the third one that we talked to said, hey, don't worry about the maintenance fees or the minimum balances. When are you coming to New York next? We got to see you in person before we can open an account for you. Eventually, we were able to go find a good partner whom we could open a bank account with. We sent over 15 different docs, signed a bunch of forms, and finally got our account. But that's not it. We still had to move money to go fund our local operations. As Yuri mentioned, we had to send 15 different docs, and I counted, by the way, 43 different emails, numerous WhatsApp groups, multiple phone calls, and finally, we're able to move money. And then we find out that, this rate that we get is confusing. We don't know how much this really costs, and guess what? We kind of got screwed. And then, once we got the money over, we found out that there was still more docs that we had to file in order to make this compliant with Brazilian law. When we complained about this, we got told, é assim mesmo, or to quote Tupac, that's just the way it is. You'll notice a theme here on this presentation. At Latitude, we run into problems. And when we run into problems operating a startup, we build products to fix them. And we built Latitude Finance to fix 3 specific problems. Number 1, it's difficult to open accounts if you're operating a Cayman sandwich. Number 2, moving money over is a real pain in the rear. And number 3, compliance is one more thing that you have to worry about as a founder. So let's walk through these 3 problems and show you how we solve them. First, opening accounts. We've created a simplified onboarding process. We take your documents, and we'll open an account for you. If you are a Latitude Formation customer, it's as easy as checking one box, pulling out your phone, and recording a selfie. I authorize account opening at Latitude. That's it. And with that, we'll open accounts for your Cayman company, your Delaware company in the United States for each of these. And you can manage all of these in one single UI. No changing between screens. Next, moving money being a real pain in the rear. We onboard you onto multiple accounts, or FX banks in Brazil, in order to go move money here. You don't have to worry about sending these docs to a bunch of different folks. We take care of that when we open these accounts. And we don't hide our fees. We don't put them into a rate or blend them there. We move money at a fixed spread, starting at 0.25% and getting better for larger transfers. Speaking of larger transfers, if you're moving a large amount of money, we actually negotiate on your behalf with multiple different FX banks to get you the best rate possible. And finally, compliance. The one thing that I've learned to love. We take care of compliance with these transactions. We automatically structure them so that they flow through the correct company. We take care of the central bank filings, the BACEN filings, and we actually generate and handle your bylaw updates. That's Contrato Social in Brazil for you, so that you and your investors can be happy and rest easy. Now, the team has been hard at work over the past few months, so I'm really excited to announce a couple of cool new things. Number 1, all Latitude Finance accounts earn interest. This is something that's kicked in automatically. There's nothing you have to do to enable interest on your accounts. We pay out interest at 3% APY. Number 2, to set some context here, I don't know how many of y'all were affected by the SVB crisis, but we were. We had money in SVB. And it was a real stressful week for most of us here at Latitude. And that's why we care a lot about keeping your funds safe. In fact, that's our #1 job. And that's why we work with multiple regulated banks in Brazil and work with multiple chartered banks in the United States who are members of the FDIC. So what's the FDIC, you might ask? For folks in Brazil, it's the equivalent to the FGC. For folks in Mexico, it's the equivalent to IPAB. And this is a US government agency that provides protection for your funds in the event that a bank goes out of business for up to $250,000 per entity per bank. Our team has figured out how to increase that. In fact, as of today, every single Latitud Finance account gets up to $5 million in FDIC coverage at no cost per entity. We do this by spreading out deposits across a network of 20 different banks. Now, we've got folks in Mexico who've reached out, and we've heard loud and clear that you're frustrated with the options that are available there, which is why I have one last thing to share, and that's Latitud Finance will be available in Mexico by the end of the year. We've got beta customers right now. If you're interested in signing up or hearing more, come find us. I'm pretty much the only Indian guy here. Cheers.